once again. It's a little bit late, I know, but your old Dr. Larry is here to say hi. How's everybody doing? Okay, there's three things I wanted to start off by telling you. Number one, the podcast, Life Can Change in a Moment. We have a new episode today called Healing Your Hunger. Great concept, right? Healing your hunger. Tricia Nelson talks that she's an expert she's an emotional eating expert. So check that out. Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, the YouTube channel. So check that out today. It's a great episode on kind of getting to the root cause of why a lot of people eat and what underlies obesity and kind of issues with food. I think it's a great one to check in with. That's number one. Number two, today I went into the corporate office. I work for a group, ER group in California. We have over 1,000 doctors, providers, and I'm one of the guys that works on wellness and burnout. And we did some videos talking about videos for our doctors about burnout and wellness and how to stay balanced in this time when we're running to the front lines and we're needed, and still having all the challenges of seeing sick people and potentially, getting sick from corona and all this stuff. So talking about what can doctors do, and it's the same thing that I've been saying to a lot of you guys, which is taking care of yourself, self-care, basically, in the middle of this crisis, And then the third thing was I did a segment on ABC 10 in Sacramento, kind of a question and answer thing. That was a lot of fun. We went for like 20 minutes and talked about all kinds of things. Can you get it in an apartment building if somebody coughs in the apartment next to you, and those kind of things. So I'll release that. I would check that out. But the thing that I did today with Susie Zen was so good, and I want you to check this out. It's on my Instagram stories. It's on Facebook. We did a Skype and we shared it on all those. It's on the YouTube channel. Susie Zen is a great psychotherapist. She's got two kind of specialties. One is trauma, and the other is eating disorders. And they're often interrelated. And we talked about 5 things that you can do for your mental health now, because a lot of these things can be very triggering for people. The unknown, so much you can't control. So what are some things that help you feel like you do have control in your life? The stuff was brilliant. Number one is sticking to a routine. How your mind likes the certainty and the regularity of, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get up and have breakfast, and I'm going to exercise then, and these are my daily routines. And I was just thinking about that. I was like, God, that would help me just in life, like not necessarily during the corona crisis, like as a doctor trying to take care of myself. Grams, is that you? Are you on here? Grandma, it's 9 o'clock in California. It's 11 o'clock in Kansas City. You should probably be in bed. But it's nice to see you. I'll call you tomorrow. Drew, tell Grams to go to bed. Mr. Rogers. Oh, you guys think this is my Mr. Rogers sweater. It is. I'll be honest. When I'm out of the ER, I totally have this Mr. Rogers moment where I'll take off the white coat, and I'm getting old, but sweaters are nice. It's still a little chilly here. That's really funny. Let me say hi to some of these people. Jesse Crisp, what's up? Steven, how you doing? Natalie Reed, hello. Bren, you're back for more. Name of your podcast channel, please. The name of the podcast is called Life Can Change in a Moment. You can Google that and my name. And then it's on Apple Podcasts. We just started putting it on Spotify, but that's audio only. And then my YouTube channel. So you type my name in for the YouTube channel, but Life Can Change in a Moment. Dr. Hugh Hefner with the robe. Okay, it's not a robe, it's a sweater, but I'll take that as a compliment. Hugh's not really my way of rolling. Hi, Mayor. Cardigan, more like Dr. Dr. Mr. Rogers. Okay, Dr. Mr. Rogers. I can roll with that. Hey, Erica. Hi, Savannah Mannon. Anyway, Grandma, I hope you are staying safe and doing everything you need to do to avoid that damn virus. Anyway, I was talking about Susie Zen, and you should watch this episode that we dealt with because it gave all these things that are really practical that help people feel like they have cope with the uncertainty and the lack of control over this situation and this virus. One of them is maintaining a routine, a daily routine and a schedule. And I want to emphasize doing little things like keeping your room clean and making your bed, which may sound really silly in this time to do that, but it's something that you can control your immediate environment when you don't feel like you have control over what the federal government is doing, what your hospital is doing, what is happening around you, whether you're going to be like, are people, you can't control other people and what they're doing, if they're staying home, if they're doing the right things. And so, but you can control what you do from your routine, all the ways that exercising, what you eat, all of these things that you do have agency over, and that makes you feel better. That was the first thing of those 5 things that she suggested. Another one was have fun. Like it's a hard time. We're going to get through it, but it doesn't have to be depressed and gloomy and whatever. Take care of yourself. Eat well. Don't be a Netflix slug. Like the reality of this is setting in. People are going to be inside. Yeah, a little bit of TV here and there to get through this is okay. Social connections. That was kind of the number 2 thing that she said, whether it's virtual stuff, talking to somebody on the phone, getting creative about maintaining and still having that human contact, even in the midst of home quarantine and isolation. That's a big way to cope with this thing. And something else she suggested, this was number 5 that I thought, I'm bouncing around. The third one was express your emotions, whatever they are. I feel anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel, God, worried, not knowing what's going to happen. Like I'm afraid financially for what I may be up against. It's difficult to, when I watch the news all the time, it makes me more stressed out. So limit the news. But another one she suggested that was really good was like learning a new hobby, developing a new skill, like growing in some way, taking this as an opportunity, not just to sit on the couch and do Netflix all the time, although some of that is fine, but to also, use it in ways, use this time to grow and to learn a new hobby or a new language or a new whatever, knitting. Steve Schutz is in the house. Hello, sir. Hi, Nicole. Nicholas, how do you do? That locus of control feels good. I don't know what that means. Great talk with Susie. Mary, did you watch it? It was so good. Susie was so good. Oh my goodness. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. How's everybody doing? Number 4, humor and fun. Oh, love, health, balance. I don't know who you are, but yeah, you saw that. That's right. Thank you for reminding me. Humor and fun. Very important. Stephen, good day. So check that out. I'm going to do more videos with Susie. And if you guys have other people that have practical, useful stuff in this time to help us get through it, I want to do little Skypes and put that out there. I think that one is so helpful. And I want to do more stuff like that. Nicole, dude, that sweater, is that a trash can where you think this sweater needs to go into the trash can? Just for that, I'm going to pop the collar for you, Nicole. And remember, you did this. Now we're going to do this. Liz, you're back. Locus of control equals things we feel and perceive are under our control. Locus of control. I see. I would understand that as circle of control, like circle of influence, circle of control. The things that we can actually control, right? Like we can't control big picture politics. I have no control over whether I get faster testing or the right or enough testing or anything like that. What do I have control? How I interact with my patients, how I take care of myself, how much sleep I get in the exercise, and how much I come on here and talk to you guys. I have control on that. Thank you, Erica. The sweater is on point. I couldn't agree more. It's for you, Nicole. You did this. Trump came out today and said by Easter, we're going to be open for business again. I appreciate the cheerleaderness and the hope that this thing will go away. I think most of us in medicine think that is too early, and it's concerning that may be a real thing. Time will tell. We will see when this thing runs its course, and how many people are getting sick. If the cases are still peaking, how many people are ultimately dying? To me, Easter sounds too early, just to be frank with that. So I'm skeptical of that. I'm hopeful, but I don't trust that. I don't trust that. He's always going to be playing the political game and, crafting his message appropriately. We're not stupid. I think I would definitely turn to the experts when it comes to this. I don't know everything, but I can tell you what I do, from these front lines. Hi, Jill. Marianne Brinkwitz, thanks for giving a positive spin for all of us to try. Also, exercise and read more. Yeah, maybe this is the time to try something that you've always wanted to try. Read a good book. I was thinking about that the other day. When was the last time that I had the luxury to read, Banya, be sure people identify their support system is a very important thing to do right now as well. Yeah, that's a good point. How do you guys stay sane in this? Who do you lean on? What do you do? Relationships, how do you do that? It's been fun. I'm getting random FaceTimes and phone conversations from people that I haven't talked to in a while. Some of them are ex-girlfriends that are calling to say hi. Not hi like that, but just they've been inside all day and want somebody to talk to. And I'm happy to have these conversations, It's funny, but some of it is nice, and to reconnect with old roommates and friends that I haven't. Okay, Nicole, I can't do this anymore. We got to put this down. That I haven't done that in a while. So Trevor Noah's book is a must read if you find the time. Thank you, Jamesian 33. Anybody else have any other book recommendations? There's a good fiction, nonfiction, good stuff out there that we should read if you've got the opportunity. Just started reading Nonviolent Communication, 4 Kids Later. Who's the author on that one? And what else are you guys really doing? How many of you have children or homeschooling them? God bless you, all of you. God bless all of you. And you know who I'm talking about. That's not easy. It's a big change for parents and kids, So anyway, check those things out. Check out the podcast on my YouTube channel and on Apple Podcasts, and check out that video that I did today with Susie Zen. So good. I'm going to do some more stuff. Hopefully I can get Ben Glebe to hop on and do some comedy stuff. I have a lawyer friend who has some legal advice around these times. I think there's some interesting, what tenant landlord laws. Steve shot City of Thieves. What is that about? Steve, I don't know a lot about it. Drew, Can't Hurt Me, story of David Goggins. Do you guys like David Goggins? I love that guy. He's sometimes you just need that kind of a drill sergeant coach voice in your ear, kicking your ass and getting you moving. I remember one of his posts where he was like, that was me, that fucking swamp thing that just came out of the whatever. And I was just like, how inappropriate to call his obese self a swamp thing, but yet how right that was. David Goggins one, I might check that one out. I do like him. What else do we on here? Hi, Shanma. How are you? I have my kids reading it out loud to me. Okay, so 4 Kids Later, you've taken a new road to laziness by you're not even willing to read. So that's impressive. No, that's Arthur Marshall Rosenberg. That sounds like win-win, actually. Lori Jay Fetter, welcome to the party. What else are you guys doing? Yeah, so check out the podcast and check out that Susie thing. Maybe we'll get Ben Glebe here. I've got a lawyer friend. I got a doctor MPH who I want to talk about. I'm going to try to get her on here and talk about big picture policy stuff, what we should be doing. Are we doing the right things? Have you guys seen all this stuff that Asia, Singapore, and North Korea? There's no cases in North Korea. My ass, there's no cases in North Korea. They just completely shut it down and won't admit anything. Who knows what's going on in there? Like total communist. Just who knows? These other Asian countries are so technologically ready for this and advanced. Like it makes us look embarrassing as Americans. It's incredibly embarrassing. But it's also an opportunity for us to learn from them what worked. Everything from how to use apps on your smartphone to monitor symptoms and how contagious you are to, the exact one of their definitions of close contact was 6 feet. You've heard 6 feet, but anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of close contact. So close contact for a minute or just passing somebody, as long as they don't sneeze or cough on you, didn't really qualify for an exposure for them. Like the close contact was 15 to 30. Some of them didn't even define it as close contact unless it was within 6 feet for longer than 30 minutes. That's kind of interesting, right? But you can see how getting better information and using it and then knowing, oh, this is when I should be worried. No, this is when you don't have to worry about an exposure. There's a science to it that we need them. And I don't think there's no shame in admitting that we can learn from countries that have gone before us. But our federal response to this has been abysmally embarrassing, you guys. It's been terrible. It's been terrible. COVID-19 is illegal in North Korea. Yeah, I bet we'd like to make it illegal here. Homeschooling, FTW. I don't know what that means, but I don't think that's good. What does FTW mean? Studying, brushing up on my Italian. Okay, there you go. Another book recommendation, The Story of San Michele by Axel Munthe, gives a wonderful and evocative view of a cholera epidemic in Naples, early 20th century. His depiction of pharyngeal diphtheria is rather scary too, makes for interesting reading. Pharyngeal diphtheria. Anybody have that? Does not sound appetizing. Okay, so The Story of San Michele, Axel Munthe, appropriate now. I forget the name. I ordered that book by that guy that went on Rogan, where he kind of predicts what we're going through. I haven't opened that thing yet. Knock knock, give a sock. That's a mouthful for an Instagram handle, my friend. A Johnson 2629. Traveling Guzman Girls. I've seen you before. Bruce Springsteen's biography is amazing. Oh, that would be interesting to read. 4 kids later, I still don't know what FTW means. Hi, Katie. How are you? Jeffney, are you watching this right next to Steve? Are you guys on different? Are you on different phones? I love it when the husband and wives are both on this. That's fun. Virus Hunters of the CDC by Joe McCormick. Old school but relevant. That sounds interesting. Virus Hunters, like ghost hunters. We're a nonprofit org that helps the homeless. Knock knock, give a sock. Okay, right on. I'm curious, how are the homeless doing with this? God, I feel like this thing is just going to tear through shelters and homeless, packs. Not good for the homeless. Not good for the homeless. So many at-risk groups for this. Old, of course, with all these medical issues. Ann Owens also agrees Virus Hunters is excellent. There you go, kids. Book recommendations. Who knew? Yeah, nursing homes, just where that virus can just fly around. I talked to another doctor colleague of mine who is also kind of amped up like I am, like, let's get on the front lines, like, let's do this. And she's not seeing a ton of it yet either. It's not everywhere. It's certainly, you hear it about a lot in New York, Corona in New York, and ventilators, and you're getting more cases in Oakland and Highland and Cedars in LA and all this stuff. But there's some places that it's not, and a big part of us want to be part of the thing. One of the anticipated thing, like there's going to be volume in the ER where I work, kind of the front line of this thing, but it's ICU where really capacity to keep people on a ventilator for weeks, a couple weeks as they recover from this. It'll be interesting to see if I end up switching gears and going back and doing ICU. I do ER mainly now, but I've done hospitalist for years that included ICU vent management. So I can do that. It's going to be interesting. If this thing gets dicey, I may have to do less ER and switch gears and go do ICU and vents. I was talking the other day how my dermatologist friend was getting trained in hospital medicine, which is beyond insane, in Kaiser, because they were anticipating that they may have to use them in that capacity, which is so crazy. But talking about how I lost my train of thought. It was going to be brilliant, though, whatever we were talking about. Talking about how people now, the pulmonologists, the critical care doctors, called intensivists, if we get into a situation where we don't have enough of them, what they may be doing is kind of an overseeing managerial type role where other doctors, some of these medical students are graduating early, like we're going to bring back open. But anyway, the people that really know what they're doing, instead of taking care of 10 people themselves, may be overseeing 3 doctors that each care for 10 patients. And so they get stretched more that way in a way to cope, with what is ultimately going to be a shortage of ICU able doctors. I have all these contingency plans in place, for how to deal with this if we really have a surge and a shortage. Liz recommends tear through prisons. Oh, the virus is going to tear through prisons. Yeah, there's another place where it could come out. That would be worrisome too. Hi, Jen. How are you? Chanel. Hey, Courtney. How are you doing? Dr. Kate joining us. Welcome. What are you saying through all this, Dr. Kate? What are you telling people? What are you telling patients? It's so hard. Shelters are getting hit. This is from Knock Knock Give a Sock, our homeless nonprofit friends. It's hard. Shelters are getting hit hard. They all share rooms. Oh, that is just a disaster waiting to happen. Hygiene, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that you're trying to, and that's challenging, like where are homeless guys going to go? Like if they develop a cough and a fever, to the street. You don't have an isolation unit in a shelter. I don't know how shelters are dealing with those problems, but I can appreciate them. FTW for the win. For the win. I'm homeschooling while also finishing my last 5 weeks of nursing school. Finish it quick because we need you. Let's be real. For the win. I thought it was like FML, which does not mean for the win. It means something else. So we're talking book recommendations. So anyway, that'll be an interesting thing to see how that pans out. If we do have a big surge of all this stuff, and we do have beds and vents, but we don't have enough ICU doctors, how we would deal with that. How does Berkeley look? Our city has a university and students have been asked to move out of the dorms. City is eerily quiet, lots of business loss. Yeah, you're telling me about it. And we're now teaching virtually. Sounds about right. Yeah, I haven't been out in Berkeley very much. I don't know how it looks. I just got back yesterday from being in Southern California for a while, but that sounds about right. NCLEX just reopened up testing. Fingers crossed we Students get out there ASAP. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy to hear that, they're calling for old retired doctors to re-enlist, so to speak, to see patients again. That's crazy, right? Like taking the most vulnerable doctors possible and putting them back on the front lines where some of them would get sick and die. I don't, I worked with a doctor who was twice my age a couple days ago, and I was like, God damn, good for you, man, that you're out there still doing this. I respect that. I respect that. Ann Owens, any updates on cardiomyopathy COVID-19 cases that was reported in the US? Has this been reported in Italy and China? I don't know the difference between cases here and there. I would presume that. So I remember this graph, and what you hear most about is respiratory failure, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, that being the way that lungs fail and don't get oxygen into the blood when somebody has severe coronavirus. That's a big thing. But also, anywhere from 20, I think, to 40% also have heart involvement where the virus attacks your heart. And so, if the lungs don't work and their job is to get oxygen into the blood from air, and a virus attacked the heart and caused problems, what would that heart failure look like? If the virus was damaging the heart, it wouldn't be pumping. So if a heart normally pumps like this and the ejection fraction, that's what we call 70%, might be normal. I've heard of cases where instead of pumping normally, you get a viral infection of the heart, which we would call myocarditis. Myo means muscle, card means heart, itis means inflammation. Myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle. Instead of pumping normally, this virus gets in there and the heart pumps like this, 10%, barely. These are these people where you hear they go on ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. I keep forgetting to look that thing up for what exactly means. It just means instead of your heart and lungs working, your blood gets pumped through a machine that both gives the blood oxygen and then pumps it throughout your body. So it performs the heart and lung function for you. So there is a significant amount of people that are getting into trouble. I think that's part of how people die with corona. It's not just respiratory or lung failure, but it's also a form of heart failure from the virus. How do you treat that other than the bypass? When it's lung failure, you put them on a ventilator where you put the tube in and you directly give the highest concentration of oxygen right into the lungs. But when the heart doesn't work for this, how can you temporarily get it to squeeze more? We don't have good life support like that. And so that is a big way. But to answer your question, I don't know how that compares to the Italy and China cases here. I don't know. Curious whether health systems are helping with childcare for their employees. Good question. Also something I don't know. But you just think about I did read an article that said, I forget what percentage of the nursing force, has young children, and now that they're not in school, moms and dads, nurses have to care for their kids at home, and you're going to lose a chunk of the nursing force because they have to take care of their kids instead of being able to come in and work. It was like 30% or 40% or something like that, or parents dependent on childcare. So then all of a sudden, so closing the schools, you can see, that may have been the right thing to do, but then it creates this other problem and contributes to a nursing shortage, which we're already worried that may be an issue with the virus. Getting sick, going home on, these 14 days of exposure. So that's a real issue too. I don't have the answers, but I can appreciate that problem. So far, nothing here in Nevada for the Valley Health hospitals in terms of childcare. Yeah, I bet. Treatment like vented meth users. Liz, you be good. We see a lot of drugs at county, for sure. Dan Dockhill, how are you doing, brother? Welcome to the party. Adventures of Cash and Linz. I know who that is. Lindsay. How are you doing? Hi, Melly. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting, consequence of schools going home is losing some of the nursing staffing to childcare. And Kath, what's up? Kathy, Grams is still awake after 11 o'clock. She was watching me on this thing. I tried to tell her to go to bed. Is that funny? Like, Gramps, it's 11. What are you doing? Now it's 11:30. Go to bed. Why am I here? Thork official. That's a philosophical question, and I think a lot of us are asking that right now, given the middle of this viral apocalypse, which this is not the viral apocalypse, by the way. This is not the viral apocalypse. This is not Ebola with a 50 or 60% mortality that is as contagious as measles, where one person gives it to 16 other people. That would be the viral apocalypse. But, that philosophical question of why are you here? It's a good one, right? Why are you here? What are you here to do on this planet? What's your mission? Why are you here? I think these times can provide an opportunity to reflect, to get deep, to remember and figure out what the hell's really important to you, to let all the bullshit go, and to live authentically according to what really truly is important to you. So you tell me, Thork.official1, what is important to you? What are you doing here? What do you want to live for? These kind of crazy times can be fertile soil for those kinds of deep reflections in a Mr. Rogers sweater, nonetheless. She said she's been trying to watch a movie all day and kept getting phone calls. Maybe she's finally finishing it. Okay. All right, Grams. Good. I'm glad people are keeping an eye on her and she's had some phone calls. I'll call her tomorrow. Thork official, I know. You are American. Where are you from, Thork? Thork. I know you're American from your accent. I am American. That's true. I am. Yes, that is correct. So that's about what I have to say today on the update. I'm from Indonesia. Outstanding. How are things over in Indonesia? I am not aware of how this virus is in Indonesia. Hi, Rebecca. Yeah, cases continue to climb. The death toll will continue to climb. I saw some encouraging data that for 3 days in a row, Italy's daily death numbers started to go down. So that was hopeful that was a peak for them. I don't know if that continued today. God, that would be great news, right? All we're getting is bad news out of Italy. Like, how encouraging would it be that there's improvement? I would see that as improvement and hope. Doug Stevens, being on the front line yourself, what are you doing to protect yourself? Friend of SS and OP, Steve Schutz. So, we have to ration our personal protective gear, which, I was going to show you guys this. I've been meaning to do this. Look at that bad boy. See that? What is that? See that number? Is this backwards on these things? This is an N95 mask. This is the valuable thing that is the one that is better. You can see this thing. It's supposedly the size, the particle that can pass through there is only the size of 3 of these viruses, which is ridiculously small. What do you wear? You wear this thing, and I'll put it on. To be honest, I hate these things. I want it to keep me safe, but when you put this thing on right, you pinch the nose, and if it's right, it should completely seal right around here. And so you're only breathing through this thing, and you can't breathe. These things are terrible. So to answer your question, what are you doing to protect yourself? The number one thing is we screen people to figure out, are they at risk for corona when they come to the ER or not? So if somebody comes in with a cut on their hand and they don't have a fever, cough, or any corona symptoms, we don't have to wear all this stuff. It's not a bad idea to wear a mask myself to protect the patients. I'm not sick right now. As far as I know, I'm not contagious. But I still think it's a good idea in this environment to wear not this mask, but another mask that can prevent a little bit, and to certainly wash my hands and everything. But then there's a whole spectrum of potential exposed people where you take somebody, let's say they've got a known exposure, they've got classic symptoms, they're coming in with a fever and a cough, you're worried they have corona. Those guys go into the isolation room, and then you got to wear these. And things have changed. In the beginning, it was like you wear this, you put the full gown and everything on. But now that we don't have enough supplies, this is insane, by the way. United States of America, richest country in the world. And because we don't have enough supplies, even when it's a known, possible exposure case, we're not fully gowning and everything. We're reserving that equipment for the higher risk things like intubating somebody when this virus is more likely to be spewed everywhere and it's a high risk thing, right? The United States of America does not have enough personal protective equipment to use in these cases. If that's not insane, I don't know what is. And that we don't have the testing right now, that we don't have those two tests. One, the viral PCR, number one, just if somebody's positive or not. And then two, that we don't have the antibody testing, the IgM and the IgG, is unbelievable. Whoever is at the top should be fired immediately. Immediately. It's so bad. And this thing, you tell me we couldn't, if there was a little bit of that, a little bit of cheddar going to the people that make that, you tell me we couldn't supply that? Bullshit. There's reasons, I don't know what they are, but whoever's making them like that, they need to be fired immediately. It's so egregiously wrong and pathetic. I just, don't even get me started. What are you doing to protect yourself? So washing my hands between every single patient, being paranoid with the the hand sanitizer. I wash down my stethoscope. When I get to work, I always wipe everything down. And then making sure that if it's anybody that there's even a little bit of risk, I'm wearing this stuff to minimize my own exposure. But otherwise, you're still going into the war zone. There's still bullets flying. You minimize, but it's never going to be zero. Kathy, I have 2 of those. Took them on the train to Arizona with Graham in case we needed them. Rebecca Jones, do you have enough tests? One of the hospitals that I'm at, you still have to call public health and get approval for a test. That's insane. That is insane. And I guarantee we're going to call and the line's going to be busy and they're not going to approve it. It's just another bullshit horse, hoop you got to jump through. That means they don't have enough tests and there isn't enough, capacity for the testing. Another hospital, I don't have to do that, but it just is really frustrating. My friend Rebecca Jones joined the conversation. She's the mayor of San Marcos and a badass. Oh, wow. Mayor, welcome. No, I don't have I don't know that. At Sonoma, no, I don't think that Sonoma County has enough tests, to be frank. I think it's a goddamn joke. I think not having enough of this is a joke, Mayor. And you heard my little rant before I knew you were here, but I think the leadership from the top has been unacceptable. And I think most medical people would agree with that. And I'll leave it at that. I'm here for the thoughts that are in your head because it seems like a nice place to be. You want to know my real thoughts? No. Maybe tomorrow I'll do a glass of wine and then we'll really kick it on this thing. Don't go to Greater Jakarta if you don't want to be infected by this virus. I will take your advice there and cancel my plans because I was going to Jakarta tomorrow. I'm from Iran. Welcome, Iran. Welcome. Question: will a person who has corona and asymptomatic eventually show symptoms and fall ill, or can they recover without symptoms? It is possible to never have symptoms. I want to say it's under 20%, 15 or 20% of people may get corona, may get infected and never show symptoms. Most people, 80%, have either no symptoms or mild stuff and aren't super sick. Maybe 15% get kind of sick and 5% get critical. Those are the numbers that I've seen. So yes, but you can potentially have no symptoms. I think most people have some, whether it's fever and a cough, or Tom Hanks said it the best. He called it the blahs. Just felt kind of fatigue and off and maybe a little achy and like a little flu-like thing. Like that can be corona too. Not everybody has a classic fever and cough that you've heard in the media. Good question. Pinch and Seal, an unreleased Poison album from 91. I love Poison. Bret Michaels. Beyond insane. Yeah, don't even. Joyce 27, the lack of PPEs. It's just such, it's that this is, it's like we're in the third world with this. Real talk every day, please. I don't know what that means, which part that was. Appreciate you giving a voice to current issues in healthcare. Thanks for addressing my question. You got it. This is just my opinion. I'm one guy on the front lines dealing with this thing. I don't know it all. I try to read and stay up on this, but this is where I'm at with all of it. And yeah. There's some, I'm not sitting at the top. I'm not a public health guy that has all of the data and options and tools and things we can do. I question a lot of what we have and have not done. Why aren't we deploying some kind of app? Why don't we have more testing where people could show, hey, I've been exposed and I have immunity. And then the people that demonstrate that can go back to work, right? And can go out into the community. What a crazy idea if you had that serology, that IgG and IgM of coronavirus. It exists on the East Coast. I know it does. We're trying to get it in San Francisco. It's insane that we don't, I think that would make a big difference. Sorry if I've already answered this, but how far of a vaccine we are? That takes a long time. Vaccines, I've heard 12 to 18 months, and that's the fast track for a vaccine. You have to prove that it's safe. You have to prove that it works. So you're doing trials on people, which means you have to take people that haven't been exposed, that you have to expose them and see if they've been able to build an immunity to the vaccine that you gave them and that it works. So vaccines take time. This is the challenge right now, is that good medicine takes time. It takes studies. You have to make sure that stuff is safe. The first rule is don't hurt anybody, do no harm. The second, after that is, does it actually work? Not, do you hope it works? Not, we don't have anything better, so we're going to throw this at them, works. Not, gosh, I really want this to work because I want this person to live, but does it really work? Is it better than a sugar pill? And you saying, hey, this is hydroxychloroquine, it's going to work, but it's really bullshit. This is not the time for the supplement industry to step in and say, oh, boost your immune system and save yourself from corona. Bullshit. And the people that are selling you that, you need to light their Instagrams on fire and get rid of them and stop following them. Those are, this time when people are really getting in trouble and dying from this, those people, they should be publicly hanged. Not killed, but called out big time. And there are people that do that, and they should. That's just, there's some bad people out there today that are profiting off of this in immoral ways. Absolutely. And that's disgusting. I think now, what can you do to boost your immune system? Get sleep, eat a good diet, plenty of fruits and vegetables, get some exercise, reduce your stress. If there's anybody that's slinging, oh, I got my vitamin C, zinc. Yeah, maybe zinc can help. Maybe. I think it's okay to take it. But, folks that are pushing this, get my cocktail of vitamin C, zinc, probiotic-y, antioxidant cocktail. It'll, they don't come out and say this will save you from corona, but they'll say boost immunity. They have their little legally not, you can't sue them words, but that's what they're selling to. Fuck those people. Usually don't say these words. Sorry. Get off the soapbox. Sometimes I get a little hot about this stuff. Aunt Kathy, I hope nobody used mefloquine. It's been banned in Europe due to causing psychotic breaks. Okay, all right. That anti-malarial, we'll take that off the docks. Thank you, Kath. Yeah, I just get hot about people who are trying to profit from this, who aren't really contributing anything that's real to people in this crisis. I just that's goddamn wrong. That's wrong. And that shit goes on all the time, and we let it go. Because it just is. But I think in the middle of this thing, it's just worse. Yeah, it's gross. Thank you, Erica. It's gross. Can't resist. Can't resist to make a buck off of people, as opposed to like Elon, who's like, hey, Elon Musk, oh, let me take some of my factories where, don't forget, like on his SpaceX spaceships, they have life support. They have all kinds of technology. He's like, oh, you want me to make a ventilator and a mask? This guy's building rocket ships to Mars. He's like, I think I can do that. Love that idea. There's just so much collaboration and centralized leadership when you put geniuses together and technology in San Francisco and be like, hey guys, like, let me throw you a couple bucks and really fix, like, if we really wanted to kick ass on this thing, what would we do? What would that look like? It's exciting to think about that. Are we doing that? Not even close. What a joke. Not even close. All right. I don't mean to get all opinionated, but that's the truth. Those are my thoughts. Gang. I've been ranting for a while. I probably need to call it a day, go eat. And so what do I do? So I do this. I get all worked up. I'll post this stuff. And then, you guys seen the Hunger Games? You've probably all seen this. I'd never seen it. I watched it last night. That thing is brutal. Have you seen this? The movie, they pick 2 people from each district, 12 districts or whatever, that then compete and have to kill each other. This is their annual tradition in this country. Oh, awful. It's a great movie. Made it for very interesting. Imagine if they did that with The Bachelor, right? So instead of like competing for the guys, whatever, it's survival. It's like a combination of The Bachelor and Hunger Games. How about that? That shit would be incredible. There's part of me that would watch that. That would be so wrong. It's wrong as it is, but that would be extra wrong and hard to not watch, right? I would watch that for sure. I would totally watch that. Herd immunity for COVID, yes or no? Eventually there will be herd immunity, and that's when the virus will die out. Let's talk about this concept of herd immunity for a minute. I'm going to give you my understanding of it. In the beginning of a viral outbreak of anything, whether it's influenza, whether it's corona, in the beginning, you're going to have we're going to have 2 groups. Right here is the people that are immune, okay? And then this is the group of infection. So in the beginning, and this is what's going on in this country now, the group that is infected is rising. And you've seen these curves that kind of do this. And so number of infections comes up like this. And then as people get over it, the number of immunity grows until in a population, they get to this balance. And then eventually the number of immune people gets so high that the infections instead of getting new infections, instead of creating new infections, I'm sounding like an idiot right now. The number of immunity rises such that the potential for new infections for the virus gets less and less until it eventually dies out. So in the beginning, when everybody's naive, when their immune system is naive and they're susceptible to it, the virus can spread more easily. But then eventually, it's gonna be exposed to people who already have immunity, and it isn't going to spread, and that's when it starts to go down. And so what this is the herd. When a mass of people have immunity, and that prevents the virus from spreading around the community. So the herd being immune is a protective strategy against the virus spreading. There's two ways to raise herd immunity. One is to get the disease and clear it naturally with your immune system. The other one is our friend vaccination. So vaccinations increase the immunity in the herd, thereby protecting people, protecting everybody. This is why we push flu shots. Even when they're not 100%, they raise the immunity of the entire population and thereby limit how high the infections can go. That sounded a little better. Initially, I sounded like an idiot. But so, like I said, there's two ways to do it. Either you get the thing and you naturally get immunity, or we get a vaccine. Vaccines take time, 12, 18 months. We're not going to have a vaccine in a month that's going to do this. And so that's why it's flat in the curve. It's like, shit, we don't have a vaccine. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to try to spread out the infections so that everybody doesn't show up and need a vent at once, because then we're screwed. We don't have enough vents. Ann Owens, same for chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. There is no evidence that it works. And that's not true. There's some evidence. There's early evidence that suggests maybe. It's not, you're right, it's not, it hasn't been sufficiently repeated and established. It's not an incredible treatment, but it might be the best thing that we have. So, I think my opinion is for azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine, I've looked at the studies. I think there's enough evidence that it's the only thing we got right now. You use it because you're desperate, because we got nothing else, Is it at the level of grade A, great evidence with expert consensus and recommendation? Absolutely not. That standard is so high, and we still need more studies on hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, for example, to further evaluate that. Absolutely, randomized controlled trial with large numbers. Ideally, you would have 50,000 people. You take 100,000 people. You would randomly put half of them in a group where you say, hey, you're getting azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine, but you're really giving them a sugar pill. And the other half, you actually give the medicine to, and then you compare. Does one group live longer than the other one? Does one group have a shorter course of, all of these endpoints that are relevant in this case? And then you look at those numbers, and that's how you answer that question. But we don't have that right now, right? And so we're only going on a little bit of evidence, and it's not great. I agree, but I would use it. If I were in the ICU, I would give it to those patients, because what else are you going to use? Ann Owens, that's the question to you. If you had somebody that was sick in the ICU, what would you give? Would you do nothing? This is why we keep, this is like, and so in medicine, steroids. Steroids is the medicine where if you're in the ICU and somebody's really sick, all the times, it's like, let's throw steroids at them. Maybe that'll help. Even though like study after study after study, there's some specific indications where steroids like, prednisone, solumedrol, solucortef, hydrocortisone, all these intravenous steroids. That's the medicine that we just throw at it when we don't know if anything else works. Well, we're giving them antibiotics, so let's throw steroids at it. Is there any evidence? No, but we're going to throw it at it anyway because we got nothing left. So my question to you is, would you use it? It's not perfect evidence by any means. It's not, grade A recommendation. Would you use it, Ann Owens, or not? We don't have anything better. I agree. We need more studies, but until we get them, what do you do? It's a practical question now in the middle of this need. I think that academics all over the world, China, Italy, Harvard, are using that. That's good enough for me. I would use it. Miss Resp 24, love the sweater. Dr. Mr. Rogers, I think is what they called it. Thank you. Ann Owens, ICU maybe, but definitely not as prophylaxis. Oh, I would agree with you there. I don't think I would use it as prophylaxis yet. I would use it. If my threshold would be if somebody's admitted to the hospital, I would offer them that medication and have a discussion. If somebody's in the ICU on a vent, I would give it. That's what I would do based on what we know right now. And that's going to change in a week and in a month. And we're going to learn more. We're going to study this more and figure out the best thing to do this. The best way to do this. One cocktail I saw was azithromycin, hydroxychloroquine, and zinc. I would do it. Hi, Lori. How are you? Remdesivir. So remdesivir is this antiviral that I think it was developed in another SARS outbreak and then also with Ebola. It's kind of an antiviral medication, and it's this compassionate use one. I think it's very expensive. I don't know that I'm more skeptical of that one. I mean, advantages to hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, they're safe, do no harm. They're cheap, even though there is a shortage now, of course, because everybody's stockpiling it, using it. It's being used, which is irresponsible and shouldn't be done because it should be safe for those that are sick. I don't know that I'm convinced. Look, this stuff is experimental, okay? Can you use it? Sure. I would put it where the analogy is, I think it's similar to if you're in the ICU on a vent, it's like having terminal cancer and being at the place where you're like, I'm open to being part of a study and to doing experimental chemo and maybe even sacrificing myself a little bit so that you learn and maybe save somebody else. But that I haven't seen good stuff that one makes a big difference in outcomes yet. But can it be studied? Sure. What do you think about the ending of all this? What do you mean by the ending, Sonu? What do you mean by that? What do I think about the ending of what? Ochoa, thanks for being a brave physician on the front lines and being willing to openly discuss it. Truly inspiring. Let me say a couple things about that. There are absolutely times where I have thought about my own mortality, where I've thought about dying. At my age and health, 99.8% live, but that means 2 in 1,000 may not. And that's not a terrible game of roulette, but I've there's so much fear and stress with all this stuff that I thought about it. And I've been like, God damn, if I'm going to go, is this how I want to go? And the answer is yes. What a glorious death. I'm not going to war to kill other people. You're going to battle to save lives. Fuck. And we can do this. Doctors, ER doctors, ICU doctors, hospital, we can serve in a way that not very many people can at all. What an honor and a duty and responsibility. And so part of it is a thrill and is exciting, but then there's other part it's like, fuck, there's a lot of shit that I still want to do in life. And you have these questions and you feel there's a nervousness about it and an anxiety and it keeps you up at night and that kind of thing. But this ain't about me. There's a little bit of courage to go out there like that. But I worked with an 80-something-year-old doctor a couple days ago, and that guy's got courage, sticking his neck out, right? Over 80, the mortality is 14%. Holy shit. I got a lot of life left to live. That guy, I really respect that. A female physician I work with, she's upper 60s and has asthma. Again, more risk to her. That's real courage. The director of mine that just stepped up and intubated somebody when he wasn't even on. Bad ass. So I'm inspired by the people that I work with. That's what I think about in this time and with all of that. I need to go. I'm hungry. This has been great. Thanks for chiming in, all you guys. I'll see you next time. I'm going to do some more interviews and videos. You can always hit me up with questions. I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know, I'll look stuff up. Kelly, SFO, not okay to send HCPs in without PPE. Fucking joke is what that is. Yeah, good night to you guys. Take care of yourselves, including your mental health. We're going to get through this thing. This virus will be, it will end. It'll end, and we're going to show up, do our best. We're going to get through it. Do your part. Please do your part. Not only wash your hands, stay at home. Don't be stupid. Don't go to the beach and the big parties and the big whatever. Yeah, and I'm not hangry, okay? I'm not hangry. But I do need to go. HCP, healthcare practitioner, but I need to go. So Thanks for tuning in and take care of yourself. Do your part. We're going to be okay. I'll see you next time.